somebody with more confidence who is less competent would have dethroned her by now.
So if this is the same thing that was in the second game, it's going to be really gnarly looking.
So we've had the apocalypse, and dad jokes survived the apocalypse. Just pointing that out. Welcome to The Right Advice. I'm Randy.
And I'm Amber.
And I'm Lucy.
And we're talking today about episode 4 of The Last of Us on HBO Max. Let's go with first reactions. Randy.
I liked it. It was good. It was solid. I would say that I felt that it maybe wasn't as strong as the previous episodes, but still enjoyable. I mean, I sat the whole thing. I enjoyed it. I just kind of wish there was more, but I'll go into that more later.
I really liked it. It was a little bit different from the game, which I'll get to when we get to the different parts. But it was overall pretty similar. And to me, it felt more like the gameplay itself, not necessarily because you're acting out, but because it's more of like a slower pace and you do go through a lot of the city. The city takes up a huge chunk of the game.
Oh.
So I like that they're splitting it up into 2 episodes.
Okay.
And then also just giving more of Ellie and Joel just kind of wandering around that you actually do in the game.
Awesome.
So I like that as from the gamer standpoint.
And that would be Kansas City, in case anyone cares.
Yeah, I actually had to pause and try to figure out where they were at. I really liked it as well, but like Randy, I had some issues with it, and mostly relating to how much happened in this episode. And I think there's going to be a lot of people who feel that, because I felt it, and then when I asked family members who saw it, what do you think? That was the first thing that they said. So, yeah. Episode 4 begins with Ellie and Joel at a derelict gas station. In the bathroom, Ellie unloads the pistol she has secretly packed and plays with it, watching her reflection in the mirror. Outside, she finds Joel siphoning fuel from a car and reads to him some jokes from a book of puns. Ellie finds them hilarious, but Joel is unaffected. Reactions.
Go. Oh, the gas station. That was interesting. I mean, we do see Ellie with the gun practicing, and if you're an old-timer like me, I'm watching that, and she's like pulling the gun and pointing it at the mirror, and I'm thinking one of 2 things. The first one being Dirty Harry. Go ahead, punk. Do you feel lucky today? Yeah, but of course she would have never seen that. This is where my mind went. And then the other one was De Niro in Taxi Driver. He's a taxi driver or just taxi driver, where he's like, go ahead. Oh, are you talking to me? I'm sorry, that's what it was.
You talking to me?
You talking to me? You talking to me? So I'm thinking that the whole time she's doing that, and it has really nothing to do with the show. So, but yeah, she's doing that. That's interesting. And they get ready. He siphons gas, and she's fascinated by that. And so she continues to be fascinated by all the things in the world, especially all the things that were really much more a part of the old world and are no longer really relevant anymore. That's all I have.
For me, I didn't have a whole lot on her being in the bathroom. I thought this is very typical of what a teenager would do, play with a gun. I was surprised that she knew how to properly unload it, including taking the bullet out of the chamber. My brother is a gun guy, and so he was like, how'd you know how to do that? And I said, well, she grew up in a military school, so maybe it's kind of related to that. And turns out it was, so that's good there. I had 2 little issues with this one, and they're not super big. The first thing is that Ellie was irritating me again in this scene, and I tried to go, why is she bugging me so much? And I think I figured it out.
Because she's a teenager.
No, not because I used to be a teacher, so I love kids. I love kids and I love teenagers. Actually, I taught kids who were around the same age. But what I realized was going on here was that I don't think that Ellie has been pulling off a range in some of her comments so much. She's usually trying to engage in banter, and it just comes off as insulting because she hasn't earned that level of intimacy with Joel yet. And it was starting to happen again, and I was going, oh, are they going to do this again? They just made a little step in the last episode. I wish they would keep it up, but I was happy to say that even by the end of this scene, she kind of redeemed herself because he he told her don't wander off, and she didn't like, nah, nah, nah. She like, okay, then you ask for it, and she pulls out her joke book and starts reading the jokes.
I love the joke book. I mean, so it's basically like dad jokes, right? And so for the rest of the episode, we're getting dad jokes, which I loved. I'm not sure everyone else loved.
I do like the jokes, but I was seeing this is not the appropriate time for her to be telling jokes. I mean, maybe it is, but it's not to Joel, and she doesn't recognize that because she's not that close to him. She's just firing jokes at him, and he was looking at her. And maybe this is bad on the part of the actor or the director for not guiding him and telling him I need to see more. But the way he was looking at her at this moment, and I've seen this episode 3 times now, it looked like he was unsure if maybe she's not all mentally there, or that she maybe has some sort of a well, maybe she's like on the spectrum a little bit, maybe like Asperger's. I've heard that pronounced like 3 different ways. That was what I was seeing in his facial expression, and I thought about it and I realized I think through most of the series he hasn't given a whole lot with his face. Even when he was mourning, not a whole lot. And it really became evident to me as I was watching this episode that there was nothing. And I'm happy to say that that changes after this scene. But he held it with this scene. There's also melancholy music when she's making that joke. Like, this isn't funny. Like, why is she making this joke when it's clearly not the right mood? So if that's what the directors were going for, good. They did a good job with that. Yeah. And the only other little thing I had was, and this is such a minor thing, but gas would have already been nothing by now. I mean, it's 20 years later. It would not be usable. And actually, I just thought of one more thing. This is the second time we've had information given to us, like world building information that I thought was going to pay off later, and it didn't. Maybe there's more, but I can think of Joel being the construction worker and they're climbing through the wall, and he says, oh, the wall is like this because that's what happened in the 80s or 90s. They were expanding the space between the walls to make the size of the condos smaller for, rising prices or whatever, something like that. And I thought this better come back at some point. Like, I'm expecting that to be important later on. And it wasn't. It was just like, here's a factoid about the world we've built. And for this, we have to stop every hour to get gas. I was thinking we're going to see them stopping a lot of times to get gas and that we'd see adventures in that. But I was disappointed that that didn't happen. So a little spoiler if you're only at this point, they don't stop for gas any other time after this. So
I thought, all right, so in the game, you also have the chance to have Ellie get that book.
Does she find it at the gas station?
I don't remember. I missed that part when I played through it. And the people that I watched through play it also missed that. So not fully an expert, guys. But I have seen like clips and stuff that other people have posted of their gameplays. And I'm very glad that they brought that into the show because, yeah.
Yeah, I definitely grew to like it. It was not the right timing at the beginning, but it became much better.
So in the game, does the joke book have any effect? I mean, if you have it, does it do something for Joel?
Like
or
a magic
Ellie?
notebook?
Just like while you're exploring the world, you can talk to Ellie and have her, and she'll read a joke and stuff.
Oh, that's awesome. I love it.
Did it have any of the same jokes, or were they new?
I don't remember.
They were puns, though, right? Was it puns?
Yeah, it was the same types of jokes.
I thought it was great that they were dad jokes.
I loved it. So, but I do have to comment. So we have had the apocalypse, and dad jokes survived the apocalypse. just pointing that out. That's it.
Yeah.
On the road again, Ellie explores the inside of the truck, finding a Hank Williams cassette and gay porn magazine, and she teases Joel for his discomfort in not knowing how to explain why the magazine pages might be stuck together. They continue on, driving through a long-abandoned American civilization, with decayed and overgrown structures and wildlife having moved in where it would never have been before. As evening sets in, they pull off the highway and have a light dinner. Joel tells Ellie they cannot have a fire because people, not infected, might notice it. When Ellie asks if they would be in danger of being robbed, Joel tells her that people would have far more than just robbery in mind.
I mean, so we do have some excellent character building that continues. I mean, so the whole episode is mostly, I would say, character building, not as much story and plot movement, which is one of the problems with this episode. So tons of that. And I don't know how important this is. I mean, so as from a writing point of view, actually, I'm fine with all of this. It flowed well. It was interesting. I enjoyed myself. I was surprised when the episode was over that it was already over because I was immersed in it. But I found it kind of interesting. So Ellie's looking at this porn magazine, and then she hurls it out the window. And I'm thinking, do we have a message there? That of all the things to pull forward and survive the apocalypse, maybe that deserved to be out there where everything's ruined and it's trash. She kind of throws it out. It's trash, and we don't need that in our new world. Is that what they were going for?
I'm not sure.
Okay, if I was them,
So.
you don't think so?
No, because that scene was straight from the game. So that entire thing in the car was straight from the game.
Okay, the whole thing, like there was, it was pretty, oh, nice.
Yeah, pretty much line for line.
Really? Oh, that's good.
Okay, so I've had people come up and like, Randy, so this scene that you wrote, did you mean this thing? And I'm listening, I'm like, oh, that's really smart. And so, of course, my answer is always like, yes,
course.
I did. I totally meant that from the very beginning.
I gotta wonder if there's a lot of writers who have that happen to them, where somebody says, oh my gosh, was this a symbol for this? Because if it was, that's brilliant. Why, yes, that was totally there on purpose. Nice. For me, I liked this whole scene. I thought it was pretty good. I thought we were starting to see some of Joel's discomfort in knowing how to handle a teenager.
Right.
And I liked that because we didn't see much of his interaction exposing that part of him up until now. And so I thought that was good. And it somewhat explained what he was possibly explained, why he didn't know what to do with her at the beginning of this episode when they were at the gas station. She's trying to make jokes, and maybe it's been so long since he's been with his own daughter that this is a part of him that he has lost, and he's starting to kind of get it again. So that's all I had on the truck scene. Maybe the campfire, like sitting down for Chef Boyardee.
Oh, Chef Boyardee. So, yes, Chef Boyardee would survive the apocalypse.
I think so.
I just love that reference, and he calls back to us from, hopefully when we were kids, or in my case maybe still, that I like Chef Boyardee, and I love that whole reference, and that it would still be viable as a food, kind of like Twinkies, right?
Yeah.
So
what do they say? Twinkies and cockroaches will survive a nuclear apocalypse.
Right. So I'm not even sure why Twinkies have like an best by date, because they're so filled with chemicals that there is really no date. I think like 100 years from now, if you stocked your shelves, your pantry with Twinkies, that'd still be okay.
I don't know if they'd have much nutritional value. I don't think they do right now. I don't think they would even 100 years from now.
Yeah.
I like Chef Boyardee, so I was like, yes, I agree. I mean, it's one of those simple junk food type foods that I'm like, oh, it's also comfort food. It's I'm also into beanie weenies with creamed corn, if anybody is curious. Are beanie weenies still a thing? Mm-hmm. Okay. Just in case people are wondering, what the heck is she talking about? Beanie weenies? What does she eat? Yeah, it was a comfort food as a kid. How about you? So you loved that it was right from the game?
This dinner scene was not in the game, just the truck scene.
Oh, okay.
But I also liked the Chef Boyardee scene. So
Very cool.
Okay, but the important question is, what food do you think they should have used? Should it have been Chef Boyardee?
yeah,
Or
Chef
should-
Boyardee
okay,
is pretty
there we go.
good.
SpaghettiOs might have been a good alternative.
No. Chef Boyardee, I think, is perfect.
I think, yeah, it's a good one. It's one that you can say this is actually good. SpaghettiOs is like, all right, I guess I have to eat this. There was only one other thing left in this scene that was important, really, and that was that Joel reveals that there are people who would be their primary enemy. I thought this was good because it set them up for you're in danger, and I think we needed some tension at this point because they've been at the gas station, nothing really serious happens. They've been going on this long road trip through beautiful special effects on the countryside. Everything being overgrown, I thought was great. But I felt like we were missing that tension at this point. I started to want more of it. So,
Right, so a great job. That's known as foreshadowing. You do something or say something, and then people go like, ooh, maybe there's raiders going to jump out at them the next thing. I mean, so that's good. And purposely so you're not surprised. You're not going through the story, and then all of a sudden the guys jump out, and you're like,
Who are these guys?
Yeah, who are these guys? Where did they come from? And then also it starts building that tension.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it's a mistake if you do that
and then not pay it off.
No one shows up.
Yeah.
There might be raiders, and then there's no raiders. You're like, whoa, go back.
Where'd they go?
Where's the raiders?
Yeah.
So yeah, that was nicely done.
Mm-hmm.
Settled in their sleeping bags, Ellie asks Joel a question, which is obviously the start of another joke. Joel has heard it before and answers blandly with the punchline, though he turns away with a small hidden smile and headshake. Ellie laughs at being bested, but after settling down, asks Joel if he is sure no one knows that they are out here in the woods. Although Joel tells her that no one is going to find them, he stands guard later that night after Ellie has fallen asleep.
Reactions.
Very nice. So we see a couple of things there. I mean, obviously, we are getting the characterization. The relationship between the two of them continues. They're bonding even more. I love that Joel knows the punchline.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that is just so great. And she's kind of like, oh, dang, he knows that one, right?
She had a good attitude about it.
Yeah. So it was just really delightful and fun to watch. And then previously when they're driving, Joel had talked about, my plan is I'm going to drive all day. I'm going to sleep tonight. Then tomorrow I'm going to drive all day and stay up all night and drive so we get there. So we already know that he's planning on this marathon driving. But, right, he gets up and he guards her.
Mm-hmm.
And that's that protector. We see that protector. And this is great. I mean, I've talked in some of the shows that we've done, some of the videos that we've done about you want a character to be likable. And it doesn't mean they have to be nice. It just has to mean that they do something that you're like, okay, that's good. So in this case, you tend to like Joel because he is a protector. That's a noble trait in a person. And when you see that, even if it's going to be at the cost of him losing a lot of sleep,
Yeah.
I mean, so that's awesome.
Puppy's going nuts, in case you were wondering. I totally agree with you on this whole scene here. I thought was really, really good. I thought the engagement with Ellie was great. The joke worked this time because we see that Joel thought it was funny. Yeah. The one at the gas station did not work because he did not look like he was even slightly amused. But this time, he did seem to be amused, but he's hiding it. So I thought, okay, we're seeing progress in their relationship. This is all good. And I loved that he's standing guard all night. Yeah. Despite knowing he has to stay up late. No complaints on this part. It was great.
I, again, really liked that just because he was confident in being able to protect her. And then she mentioned something. And then he was like, well, now I have to stay up to, even if she's asleep and she's not going to know. Yeah. Like, it's just going to give him, I liked that little bit.
Do you think it could have been because he thought... So remember how Bill said to Frank, I wasn't afraid until you came? Like, that. Yeah. I was sort of thinking this could be a similar thing. Like, Joel wasn't really afraid of robbers showing up, or not robbers, but, bad guys showing up until he realized, wait, I've got Ellie here and I do care about her, so now I am afraid that they're coming. Yeah. So, good parallel mirroring, sort of, again. Yes.
The next morning, they get back on the road. Examining the map, Ellie sees that they have a long trip ahead of them and asks Joel about his brother, Tommy. Joel tells her that Tommy prefers to join groups, such as the Army, which he regretted. He then joined a group going to Boston, which Joel joined too in order to protect Tommy. This group was where they met Tess. And then Tommy joined the Fireflies, which, word has it, Tommy also seems to have quit. Joel sees the mission to save the world as futile and delusional. Ellie asks, if there is no hope for the world, why do you bother going on? Joel responds that you go on for family. Ellie states that she isn't family, and Joel confirms this, that she is cargo, but that he made a promise to Tess, who was like family.
All right, so we have a scene where Joel and Ellie are talking, and he reveals information about his brother's background, why his brother's where he's at, and so the events that led to him being where he's at, and then the brother's motivation for being where he's at, right? And we get a lot of background and we get a lot of character reveal. So we see that the brother wants to save the world, which is a noble ambition, right? It's totally a noble ambition, but it's so diametrically opposed from Joel. Joel wants to save himself, and Joel wants to save his family, whatever that family is. So Tess was family, his daughter was family, his brother is family, very protective, and now Ellie is family, right? So we see these motivation. We see that both of them have...
He doesn't admit it yet, though.
He doesn't admit it yet. But we see that they both have a very similar motivation, right? I mean, so Joel's is more confined, and the brother is like, no, I want to save the world. And so we see so much about the relationship and these characters through this revelation, and it's done well. Because one of the things is you just don't want to do, and like we've seen in so many, especially like Willow, where they just tell us things, right?
Yeah.
So this is and they do kind of tell us, but this is conversation. This is Ellie, who doesn't know the background, asking about it, and then it being revealed. So it's very natural. This comes out in a very natural way, as opposed to being very blunt. Like, okay, audience, we're going to tell you this thing so that you can remember right now. And so it didn't feel like that.
Yeah,
it
agreed.
felt like a conversation.
Felt very good.
Yeah.
I have no complaints about this whole scene. I thought it was perfect exactly as it is. That's good from A+ from the editor on this one.
There we go.
How about you? Was this in the game?
No, it was not in the game. I mean, you get little tidbits here and there of what was going on, like the relationship between Joel and Tommy.
Okay.
Like throughout the gameplay, you get little snippets here and there, but you don't get like a full conversation. And it's revealed, or it's kind of told. I don't know if they're gonna say this eventually later on in the show or not. But you actually figure out why Joel is the protective person that he is. So he's the older brother, right?
Yeah.
And in the game, I'm pretty sure they said that they had not a great dad. And so he was the protective older brother for Tommy.
Okay.
And
I like
so that's
that.
where that instinct comes in.
Okay.
And I think you can see where that is going, right? Knowing that, Joel makes more sense, and so does his brother, right?
Yeah.
That makes so much more sense, yeah.
That's a really good piece of information, too. I hope that information comes out in the
I'm
series.
pretty sure that's true, but if, it's not, listen, I don't have a great memory, so...
No, you've been doing really good so far. So, I mean, my family's been pulling up clips from the game to watch, and I go, oh, this is the part Lucy told us about. Oh, it is. And you know what? I still think that there are some parts in the game that have been done better. So I have to agree. You know how you say you prefer the game?
Yeah.
I'm still finding most of the stuff I've seen of the game, even though some of it's not as well acted as in the show. I'm going, I like the writing in the game. So, I mean, I'm probably going to watch the game. I don't know if I'll play it because I don't know how to use those little controlling contraption type thingies.
I'm not good at playing it either.
I'll watch other people play.
But there is a scene in this episode that is different from the game that I actually like better here.
Oh, okay. Has it come up yet?
No.
Okay.
That's why I'm saying there's a scene, and
up.
I'm not saying this scene.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, I do want to throw out that with my conversations with Lucy, I know that a lot of this information about Joel and his brother has come out in the game. It's just coming out in a different way.
Yeah, different ways, but virtually the same information.
Yeah.
As they approach Kansas City, the tunnel to pass under the city is blocked by an abandoned semi-truck with no immediate way around. They take an alternative route on surface streets through the city. Passing the Kansas City quarantine zone, they notice it is unmanned and appears to be empty. Just then, an injured man approaches, asking for help. Joel puts the pedal to the metal and speeds past, revealing that the man was bait to an ambush. They drive over a spike strip in the road and the truck crashes into a laundromat. The two men outside start shooting at Joel and Ellie. Joel orders Ellie to climb through a hole in the wall to safety. Once she is safe, Joel shoots and kills the two men, but then a third catches Joel unprepared from behind. He grapples with the man, but is losing, being choked by the man who is on top of him. Ellie comes out of the hole and shoots the man in the back. The man cries and pleads for mercy, even passing them his dagger as a token of goodwill. Joel takes Ellie's pistol and orders her to go back through the hole. Ellie obeys, disturbed, tears streaming down her cheeks, and she can hear the man crying for his mother as Joel silently stabs and kills him. Regrouping, Ellie and Joel escape the laundromat as other men show up and discover their dead comrades.
All right, so we get to Kansas City, and this is one of the problems I have with this episode, because Joel is very
Smart.
and the smart thing is not to go through Kansas City. Now, I know that there's a bridge in order to cross the Mississippi, whatever river, okay? You need to take one of those bridges. But beyond that, you go the outskirts. You find a small country road and completely go past Kansas City. You don't go anywhere near it because you're just gonna die there, because there's gonna be people and there's gonna be zombies. That's the worst place to go.
Yeah.
And yet that's what he does. So I don't think that's true. In the game, they probably go through Kansas City though, right?
They do. It's essentially the same thing where his path is blocked.
I definitely would have had them go, and this would have been a big problem for me. I would have said, isn't this the stupidest thing to do? You have a vehicle, and you know that this is a city with people living in it. So somebody's going to notice that you have a car, and they're going to come after you. Even if Fedra and the QZ was the only place where people were, I guarantee those Fedra guys are going to notice that there's a vehicle passing.
Yeah.
So they should have gone around, and you could fix this scene by having them try to go around, and there's some reason they can't get around. I would maybe even have him try a couple of times, and like maybe we have no choice but to like go through a little part of the city and not drive right smack through the middle, like go around. Maybe, I don't know. It was not good, and I think it could have been fixed with just a little bit of tweaking. So,
but they may have decided to just stick with the game, and so if that's the case, maybe it's a fault with the game.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There are no faults with the game. What are you talking about?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's not
It's
a
perfect,
fault
right
of
as
the
it
game.
is.
So I had a little bit of problem with that, but otherwise it's interesting. He gets in there, we run into bad people, and there's gunfighting and yeah, I mean, all good stuff. I kind of wish that there was more of this through the episode. And so, I mean, when I talk about, I feel it was kind of less, it felt it was slow and didn't seem to really go anywhere. I think maybe some more action would have helped. And I'm not a person that just give me a lot of action, that I'm a thrill junkie. I'm not. I'm all for a story, but sometimes you need something to kind of be happening in order to move the plot forward. And so it does right now. So yeah.
I think I know exactly what could have fixed this. So I love a slow unfolding story. So one of my favorite movies, and it has been, I went and saw it in theaters, was The New World, which is a very slow, very long story about it's about Pocahontas, but it's all told from her perspective. I really love it. And I enjoy that. But this is not a slow moving story. Like, it doesn't present as one. This is a zombie apocalypse movie. And even if the growth of Ellie and Joel is supposed to be slower, you don't do that with long pauses of zero intensity. And we've had 2 episodes of nothing happening with them. They're not, the last exciting thing to happen was Tess dying and them having to run away. So we've had 1 episode where not much intensity with the 2 of them. And then another episode where, okay, we finally got one thing. And sadly, this is the only exciting thing that happens in this episode. Everything else is kind of for these 2. Actually, at all. Really there was one other little tiny thing, but it didn't even really happen. It just implied that something could possibly happen very soon. Big explosion type thing. I don't know. Anyway. Yeah. I had one thing. Actually, it's kind of 2. First of all, I loved that the kid, Brian, called for mommy at the end, or for his mom. This is something that a lot of soldiers have stated happens on the battlefield, is that a full-grown man, tough soldier, will call out for mom when they know that they're going to die. So I liked that. However, I did not like this actor's performance leading up to that. And I felt like it was over-rehearsed. It was a little bit like he jumped into the emotion of, I'm sad, or not sad, I'm scared, and I want, I'm going to negotiate with these guys. Like, we could be friends, we'll be trading and stuff like this. There was something about his performance that was just off. I think I would have liked him to have panicked, maybe, like realizing that he's going to die, and not crying, but like, hey, we can be friends, and then build up the hopelessness and the crying, because ending on mommy, or mom, that would have been more intense to me, I think, if he wasn't quite at that stage of like, I'm I know it's the end, and I'm just, he sounded whiny.
He was.
He was whiny. If it built up, if it was like, I can't feel my legs, and he starts panicking, and then, no, don't kill me. Look here, you can have my knife. Like, just, I won't tell anybody you're here, or I'll tell him you're good. We could trade. He's like a panic kind of like this, but he was like, oh no, I can't walk anymore. I'm really freaking out. There was something off about that performance that bugged me so much. And I did confirm with my family, they felt the same way about it. They're like, the mommy was good, but he kind of seemed off. And I don't know. And this actually does have to do with writing. So I thought about this because I've got other complaints about actor performances in this episode. In writing, you would have written this, he said this as though, on the verge of tears, something. They would have described how he performed. And I don't think this is the right way for him to have performed this. So anyway, I'm going to get more into that bit, but I'm going to leave it at this. Everything else I liked, just didn't like this guy's performance. Loved the mom. The end. For me. How'd you like it?
This scene, some of it was another one that was just from the game. I kind of wish they had done a little bit more action in this scene, just because
more action.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just because in the game you go against like at least 7 guys.
Oh dang.
And then this it's 2, and then 1 sneaks up behind you.
I feel cheated. There should have been a higher body count.
Yeah. And there was also one of the Hummers that those people were using, and that starts shooting at you too. So
dang.
Listen, I like action and gore, so
we've noticed.
I wish they had done just more. But yeah, it was. I very much liked the making her go and hide.
Yeah.
Instead of him, after she comes out, killing him in front of her. I like that he made her hide again.
I do like that. I didn't know that he let her watch that. That's a good one then. And she listened this time. Remember when they were walking and he said, there's something up there I don't want you to see? And she said, oh, what is it? And, turned out it was something she probably didn't want to see, but she ended up seeing it anyway. This time he said, go hide again. And then she obeyed right away. Liked that.
And I also like the little line right after they are jumping out of the truck and they are getting like shot at, and she's like panicking because she's getting shot at. She's not really been shot at before. And he's like, you need to run to that wall. They are not going to hit you. And then he's like, Ellie, look at me. They will not hit you. Like, I just like that he made her focus on him to help calm her down a little bit.
He does well in an intense situation. He's incompetent when it comes to uncomfortable things that he doesn't want to talk about or that he finds awkward, like sex. And later it's about guilt and stuff. But this, he knows what he's doing.
So you definitely see more of that protector role here, at least for the show, as much as it might change from the game. He wants to protect her from seeing what he does to this guy because he kills him with the guy's own knife, which is a nice touch. Mm-hmm. So I will say that. So protector role, we get more character reinforcement of that trait. And I think it's a missed opportunity. So Lucy talks about there being like a Humvee and 7 guys that he's dealing with. So through the series so far, we know Joel is tough. We know that when they were in Boston, people were like, you call off Joel. We don't want Joel messing with us, right? So here is a missed opportunity. So even though this fight, he seemed very competent. He does not seem worried that they're going to get him. Right? He is worried about Ellie, but how much better to show how tough he is that we do get 7 guys. Mm-hmm. This is a missed opportunity from the show makers to really, here's our payoff. We've been waiting. Yeah. We want to see Joel be an incredibly badass person, right? Body count of 7 people? Yeah. Then we see it, right?
Well, and plus however many on top of that he kills in the city throughout the gameplay. I think at some point they say he's killed over 100 guys.
Oh my gosh.
Just in the city.
I don't think I would have liked the overkill. I think that might have been a bit unrealistic, but more than just the 3 guys. And the only time, so he shoots one, and then the second one he shoots, we didn't get to see that. We saw the first one, but he's at a far distance. He killed one from a distance. Now, the only wrestling match that we see is with the guy who beats him. So that's not reinforcing the idea that he's a badass.
Right. All right. So a missed chance there. I really wanted to see him be totally bad when he's fighting. So yeah, missed chance. I'm kind of sad about that.
So sad.
We are now introduced to Kathleen. She is in a former Fedra prison cell, interrogating a doctor for information on the whereabouts of a man named Henry. It is revealed that Henry was involved in getting Kathleen's brother imprisoned by Fedra and beaten to death. She threatens the doctor, stating that she will kill him if he doesn't tell her the information she is asking for, but the doctor refuses. Just then, armed men arrive with the bodies of the 2 men killed by Joel and one who is near death but unsavable. Kathleen tells the men that whoever did this might have been called in by Henry. She orders the armed men to go out, find all the people who collaborated with Fedra, and kill them. Then, after confirming that a doctor cannot save the 3rd man, she goes back to the doctor in the cell and coldly shoots him dead.
All right, reactions to this bit. I have quite a few.
All right. So we are introduced to Kathleen, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she is the leader in this area. And she doesn't look the part. I gotta say, she really reminds me of like a mousy office assistant, a secretary, or something where she's used to being ordered around all day. She does not look like a mean, capable leader,
Mm-hmm.
and she is surrounded by really gruff-looking soldier types, right? So I'm intrigued to see if that's going to go somewhere. If we're going to see some really strong element down the road. Now, of course, she does kill the doctor in cold blood, so that is kind of surprising. And she doesn't really hesitate too much the second time. She has a conversation with him, but then she gets mad, she goes in and just pops him. All right, so, I mean, that hints that she might be a complex, layered character, but for me, it kind of looked like miscasting for this character. I mean, that's my impression, and you need to do something with the story to draw us away from that concept, because I think most people are going to go like, oh, that's like some lady who bakes cookies at home. We're not afraid of her, right? We need to have a reason why, and maybe that's why they show her killing the doctor. But even then, I don't know that she scares me.
No. So my deal was this. I didn't believe for 1 second. Now, she says that her brother was, I guess it sounds like, betrayed and then beaten to death. Now, I could see these people rallying against the guys who beat up her brother. Maybe the brother was somebody important, and she, as far as rallying the folks, and they sort of, thought, oh, she's upset that he's dead. We're upset that he's dead. We're going to, revenge on the Fedra people, and we're going to kill them all, and they do. And they end up taking over Fedra. But here's the thing. That is over. They have won. I don't believe for a second that all these tough-looking dudes, and there's even a few ladies, would continue to follow this woman. She has no charisma as a leader. 0 charisma whatsoever. And that can be done with facial expressions, tones of voice, mannerisms, and all of her facial expressions, tones of voice, and mannerisms do not say confidence. She does not give off, I am confident. Maybe she's competent, but she does not have confidence. And here's the thing. Somebody with more confidence who is less competent would have dethroned her by now.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
So Lucy can shine some light and tell us why we're wrong on this.
Oh, she's new. So
okay.
Lucy
these are all
cannot
new.
shine light on
These are all new.
because this is a new character.
Basically, the only characters in the city that we actually get to know are Henry and Sam.
Okay.
And we're coming up to that.
So everybody else is brand new.
Okay.
All right. Well, I mean, I totally agree they could miscast this lady. And I like this actress. I think that they could have made her tougher. I think that this lady is somebody who they could have, all right, let's give her something to make her look tough. And I'm going to bring up the movie Bullet Train. There is a character called the Prince, which is a little girl. Have you seen it?
Oh, that is so funny.
Well, do you know what I'm thinking of, though?
Yeah.
I mean, come on. The girl, she looks like a little dainty girl, but she is evil and vengeful, and she's got this veracity to her. So it's possible to do this. I think that this actress, the Kathleen actress, could have done this. I think that I'm going to say this is bad on the directors, because they could have told her, don't sigh. Don't sigh when you say that. Don't go, well, who could have done this? And then there's a part where she bites her lip and looks all uncertain. Tell her not to do that. Because if this was her idea in her head, this will work. She got it wrong, and it's your job as the director to make sure that doesn't get on film. So, yeah.
Not a whole lot to say. You know,
it just wasn't in the game. I think they did a bad job. I'm sorry. I like the idea of all this happening.
I also like the idea, but I agree they didn't really do that great with her.
Good idea, bad execution. Sorry.
Back with Joel and Ellie, who are hiding, Joel tries to comfort Ellie for having had to shoot someone. He tells her that she didn't kill the man, but that he knows what it's like to hurt someone for the first time. He says that she shouldn't have had to do it, and that it was his fault, not hers, and that he was sorry. Ellie cannot stop herself from crying again. Then Joel returns the pistol to her and shows her how to handle it safely, which cheers Ellie up.
For this one, I actually liked this scene quite a bit. I had only one thing. I think that the camera could have been positioned in a little bit better places because I wasn't picking up that Joel, until like my second viewing, that Joel was noticing that she's been traumatized by what has happened. And I know that the dialogue doesn't quite match that, but I felt like the camera was not focusing on him recognizing what's going on and not picking it up the first time around. If this was in movie theaters, I think people would have been like, what? But now you can rewind it and see it and go, okay, it's very subtle, he does it, but too subtle maybe. I would have liked to have more focus on he is recognizing she's having an emotional moment here. Something he has been worried about this whole time has come to fruition, and I'd like to see more focus on that. But other than that, I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I was so glad that he apologized to her. Even though he didn't technically do anything wrong, this is the appropriate thing to do. I'm sorry that this happened, and I'm sorry that you had to go through this. And he said he takes the blame for something he doesn't really need to. Makes him very likable. So, anything here?
I don't have anything on it. I'm sorry.
This is the scene that I was talking about that's different from the game.
Oh, okay.
So I like this version much better of him actually noticing that she's, upset about what happened. So in the game, it's a different part of the gameplay, but it's still the same situation where he's being held down by a guy and she shoots him. In the game, she comes up behind him and shoots the guy in the head. So she does kill him in the game.
Oh.
And then he gets upset at her and says, she's like, wow, I really shot him, huh? Like, obviously, like, still, like, in shock that she just killed somebody. Yeah. And he's like, no, I'm lucky I didn't get my head shot off by a kid. And then he gets angry, and they go a little bit.
This is better. This is the better, the show got
and
it
then
better,
they go a little bit more gameplay, and then you get to a scene where he needs to go down into a... courtyard. He needs to go down into a courtyard, and he's like, you stay up here and watch while I go down there and take care of these guys. And she's like, I can help you. And he's like, you will. And then he gives her a rifle, and he's like, do you know how to shoot this? And he teaches her how to shoot the rifle. And then and in the previous scene, she gets mad at him. She's like, no, you can't just say you're lucky you didn't get your head shot off. Like, anything for me? Like, do you have anything to say for me, Joel? Like, thanks. It was either him or me.
That would have reinforced my dislike of Ellie. I would have been like, now she stepped back a bit. But I'm glad they didn't do that.
But yeah, and then in the scene where he's showing her how to shoot the rifle, he's like, just for the record, it was either him or me. And he relents a little bit, and then he goes down into the courtyard.
Nice.
Yeah, it sounds like I like this version of it way better than the game.
A rifle would have been a better weapon for a little girl, though.
So is this also where she talks about it's not the first time? Is it this scene?
No, it's not this scene. It's later.
Okay, it's later. Never mind.
I know, because I thought it was
Pretend
this.
you didn't
I
hear
thought
it.
it was this part too. It's a little later. Okay.
Kathleen's search for Henry and other collaborators is turning up unsuccessful, but one of her men, Perry, has found something. He brings her to an attic where she observes evidence that it has been lived in for some time, empty cans of food and drawings on the wall, children's drawings. Kathleen observes that Henry must be out of food, but would not likely allow Sam to go hungry, so they should now double the watch on their provisions. Perry then takes Kathleen into the basement and shows her what appeared to be a sunken hole, but something under the ground is moving, pushing up the concrete right before their eyes. Perry and Kathleen know what this is. Perry asks when they should tell the others about this discovery, but Kathleen says not yet. They should find Henry first and seal off the building in the meantime.
All right, this bit.
All right, so we're close to the end of the episode, and this is where we actually, in my mind, start feeling some movement with the plot. We are moving forward, and hasn't been so much previous to this. So first thing is we get Kathleen, and they're looking through a building, and they're looking for Henry, and they come across a room with pictures of Superman, right? And it's obvious that this been drawn by someone young. We don't know how young, but a young person. And then there's a bunch of cans of, I imagine, more
Chef
Boyardee, right?
Or SpaghettiOs.
I'm going to say Chef Boyardee, which makes them good guys, right? We can just know they got Chef Boyardee, they're good guys. So we're going to start being sympathetic, and we're going to hate Kathleen more, because this is the brother of Henry, who she wants to make sure he gets killed, right? Yeah. So she puts in an order to double the guard on the provisions, and they're going to use the younger brother to try to trap Henry. So that's good, right? So she still seems mousy and weak, but she's obviously not a nice person. So we have some built-in sympathy now for these two characters when they show up. And they start moving through, and then they come to a room where it's kind of collapsed a bit, and then there's some movement, like it's going to bust through the floor, right? And they are obviously scared and get out of there very quick. So that is some great tension. It's a mystery. We want to know what is in there that does that, and it's obviously really bad because they're scared. So that's a great element.
It's the impending doom.
It's the impending doom.
It's coming now.
We know it's going to show up eventually. It's Chekhov's gun. Mm-hmm. We know that there is something, and at some point in the series, probably next episode, that thing's going to come out, and it's going to be a problem. So very, very nicely done. Mm-hmm. We're feeling things moving forward. We're getting new characters being prepped. We're being told about them. So we are ready to meet those new characters.
Yeah, quite honestly, I wasn't buying the tension from sending the guys. Remember, Kathleen says, go out and find the collaborators and kill them, because we haven't seen Joel and Ellie really trying to dodge them. They've been relatively safe in their hiding spot. So they needed this moment to raise the stakes a little bit more. Or not the stakes, raise the tension, the danger. It's coming, and it's going to be big because it's pushing on a big slab of concrete or asphalt. It looked like asphalt, but I think it's concrete, so... Ellie, what'd you think?
So the Sam.
Did I call you Ellie?
You did.
Lucy, what did you think? I'm sorry.
It was very interesting to see the attic. Just because it didn't click immediately that Henry, like they were saying the name Henry, and I was like, that's a character from the game, but for some reason my brain wasn't clicking who Henry was.
Okay. And
then, because I had thought they'd taken those two out of the game. So I wasn't thinking about them being in the show.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, so I saw that and I was like, oh, that's interesting. And I was like, oh, it's the brothers. Oh, okay.
They were the ones you were excited about seeing in the next episode. And you're like, I wonder if they're going to do something with them. So you kind of lost hope that they were in it?
I did. Because I remember, I swear I read something that said they had taken them out. But I was wrong. But I'm also interested to see what's under the asphalt. Because... I don't remember what it's called. There is a type of infected that's bigger than a bloater.
Okay, freaky.
And I don't remember what it's called, and you only see it once in the second game, so it doesn't even show up in the first game. So I'm interested to see that. It looks gnarly
scary.
Looking in the game.
It does look scary.
So if this is the same thing that was in the second game, it's going to be really gnarly looking.
And you don't see it, but the fact that it can lift all that concrete up, that is scary. Whatever's going to come out of there is going to be bad news.
I thought it was interesting that it sort of falls into the idea of fungus pushing through concrete. Ever since I'm a little kid, my mom has told me the story of somebody who had laid concrete or spread concrete over a mushroom patch. And then a few weeks later, the mushrooms pushed the concrete out and crackled it. And I guess that's a thing that can really happen. So maybe it's I don't know, an old, what do you call it? When it's like not folklore, not a wise tale. That's something else. Urban legend.
An urban
I
legend.
mean, so anyway, maybe. But yeah, I was bugged by Kathleen's performance here too. Again, I could not imagine Perry taking orders from this lady. He does not look like the kind of person who takes orders from somebody who isn't like the big boss, and she just doesn't exude big boss at all.
All right, so I want to point one other thing out.
Okay.
So these pictures that we see that the younger brother has drawn. So there's a picture of two Supermen flying through the air, and it's really good characterization because obviously that's how he pictures him and his brother. They are superheroes. They are crusaders for good, right? And we are automatically, I've already talked about, we're going to like them, but not because of the, chapeauardi. We're going to like them because of these pictures and the fact that they see themselves, the more innocent of the two, sees them as heroes who are fighting against injustice. I mean, and flying above the city. I mean, to me, that just is beautiful characterization. And when I talk about doing things to make us like characters, that's one of them. So we haven't even seen the character, and already we're liking that character.
And another thing really quick about the brothers. So in the game, it's just like how Bill and Frank were a mirror image of Joel and Ellie, so were the brothers.
Nice, more parallel mirroring.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's a thing. It's a thing for real.
He's very much so insanely Henry is very insanely protective over Sam. Because he's the older brother. Sam was born after the outbreak. So, like, he's always had to be watching out for his brother.
Okay.
There's never been a time where he could, like, relax and let his parents do the job.
Gotcha.
But I am very interested to see... And I also very much liked Ellie and Sam's...
They have a relationship or interaction?
Yeah. Relationship.
Okay.
Because they're very similar. Where they both have, like, that protective, like, parent figure. And... like I said, they're mirroring for Joel and Ellie. So I'm interested to see them together again.
You know who I just realized? Who else in this episode is a parallel mirror of Joel and Ellie? Who are the only other two characters that have really had anything going on?
Kathleen and her brother.
Is that her brother, Perry?
No.
Oh, no, I was thinking
but
Perry.
But she's doing all this for her brother.
Okay, yeah, there's
so
that. Yeah.
Kathleen and Perry?
I was thinking Kathleen and Perry.
Okay,
he's got the guns and she's giving orders. So, I mean, I'm seeing Tess and Joel. I'm seeing Joel and Ellie. I'm seeing, the protector and the one who needs to be protected.
Protected.
So, interesting.
Okay.
Ellie and Joel have broken into a skyscraper and are climbing up the stairs. Ellie asks Joel how he knew that the injured man outside the quarantine zone was bait for an ambush, and Joel implies that he and Tess have done similar things in the past, being the ones conducting the ambush. She asks if he has killed innocent people, but Joel does not respond. On the 33rd floor, they stop for the night. Bedding down, Joel spreads broken glass around the room so that no one can sneak up on them without making a sound on the crunching glass. Ellie asks if he really would wake up from someone stepping on the glass, which irritates Joel, as it seems obvious that this is the point of spreading the glass. Joel asks Ellie what she meant when she revealed that it wasn't her first time hurting someone. Ellie says that she doesn't want to talk about it, and Joel says that's fine, but that it's not fair that such a young person should have to deal with these sorts of things. Ellie asks if it gets easier when you are older, and Joel says no. Ellie then says she was worried about the glass not working because she noticed that Joel doesn't hear well out of his right ear. Then she tells a joke that genuinely makes Joel laugh, and he teases her that it was a stupid joke. But the two are both laughing, giggling into the night until they fall asleep. But in the middle of the night, they are woken up. A young man and a boy have managed to sneak right up to them, holding both of them at gunpoint.
So in this scene, you've got climbing up the stairs first and the information that they exchange. So this is where Ellie reveals that she did not, this is not her first time doing something like this. And Joel doesn't think to ask her about this. So I liked that it kind of plays into his not knowing how to handle this situation, that he doesn't immediately ask her about it. He just kind of, and they move on. Then there's her teasing him about being old, or not being old, but being lazy, and him saying, I'm not lazy, I'm 56 years old, you little beep. Yeah, I'll beep myself out there. I'm not, for YouTube, we're not going to use bad words. But I liked that because now he's engaging in the banter with her. and she likes it, and you can tell he's not so irritated by it. And it works. Her banter works now because they have bonded. They have become close enough, I think, on an emotional level that he knows she doesn't mean this, and he knows to respond now. Like, it's okay for me to respond, or to have, the same kind, you're seeing the old Joel come back, the old Joel and Sarah. It's now Joel and Ellie a little bit. So I really, really liked the growth that we saw here. This, to me, is something that I've been waiting to have happen. I wish it had happened a little bit sooner, but I'm really glad that we finally gotten to this point with the two of them. I loved the build up to the ear on the glass, if you watch the episode again, I noticed it on second and third watching. Yeah, there are lots of times where she calls to him and he doesn't respond because the wrong side of his head is up. So I was like, oh, that's good. And it might be also why the guy snuck up on him.
Right. Show, don't tell.
Yeah.
Beautiful job
good.
of it.
It makes rewatching something that you can enjoy because you pick up on the things you wouldn't have picked up the first time. So other than that, I had no complaints about this. I thought it was a really good ending, this part. So good there.
All right, and so what I do like is that Ellie mentions that this is not the first time for her having to shoot someone, right? Mm-hmm. So, and of course they don't want to talk, she doesn't want to talk about it. So we see a reversal. Joel normally doesn't want to talk about his past. Now it's Ellie who doesn't want to talk about her past, probably for very similar reasons, right? There are things that they did, and they're sorry that they did them. I mean, they were probably right in doing them, but it doesn't make it any easier. So I thought that was great. And what it also does, this is really brilliant writing. So now Ellie has a secret. We know she has a secret, and we want to know what that is. And so hopefully, if these are competent writers, they will eventually reveal whatever that is that Ellie does not want to talk about. But until then, we're going to, our interest has been piqued. We want to know. So that's excellent writing.
So I also very much like this scene of just them, the little banter, and also the reveal of he was a raider at one point.
Yeah.
Which it reveals more of just how much he has honed his skills by being a raider, and also he's very dangerous. Once again, because he was a raider, so you see more of what made him so dangerous to how he is now. But then I also just really liked the little jokes and him laughing. It was a nice refreshment. It was nice. And then you see Sam and
Henry.
I'm tired.
It's all good.
All right. And what did you think about Sam and Henry showing up?
It was I mean, I didn't really see a whole lot of them, but it was interesting to see the face paint that Sam had on.
Yeah.
It was the superhero face paint that he was drawing pictures of. Or it seemed to be. I'm assuming that's what that was. But
so this kid wears it all the time, apparently.
He's one of those nerds.
Hey. Let's not talk like that on this show, okay?
I think we're called geeks now. That's the politically correct term, geeks. We're geeks.
But yeah, I'm excited to see them.
I loved them showing up at the end, and I'm going to talk again about how you make characters likable or interesting, okay? And so when I say likable, it doesn't necessarily mean they're nice. It just means that we have an interest in seeing them moving forward. So Sam has some painting and whatever, right? He's kind of dressed up like a superhero, right? And he smiles. Not like a vicious, evil smile. He has kind of a warm, friendly smile. And for me, I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't wait to meet this character for real. I mean, we see him so very briefly, and that is a great cliffhanger, because now I'm like, I want to see that. And not only that, we know that they're going to be allies. I so want to see them work with Joel and Ellie. That is going to be some fun.
Yeah.
So good job on that.
This segment I really enjoyed a lot. I thought it was a good cliffhanger to end on, but I did have a problem with this whole episode in general ending here. And that was that I felt like there was still very little action that happened. We were kind of waiting for something to happen too long. And and it was dissatisfying to be like, that was it. Now I have to wait another week before I get, anything more. It felt slow. Now, I probably wouldn't mind a slow episode if it was just one, but this is the second slow episode in a row with Joel and Ellie's character build-up. And I'm thinking they should have taken Joel and Ellie from episode 2, and it should have been mushed into this one. It would have been at least a little bit more, or they should have carried this one over a little bit more. I know that it would have not ended on a cliffhanger, but I don't know. It just felt like I was so excited for something to happen, and then before something happened, it cut off. So I was a little dissatisfied with that. I wish I could really narrow down what the issue was I had with this ending the way that it did, but I think it was just that this is the second episode that this has happened. So I wish there was more to it.
I'm going to disagree. I am perfectly fine with the ending. I think somewhere in the middle, maybe we needed some more stuff happening. And for me, then that would have been more satisfactory for this episode. Yeah. Right. But for me, now I'm so excited. I can't wait until next week because I suspect that the 4 of them are really going to take it to the bad guys. Right. It's obvious that these 2 brothers, they know their way around. I mean, they are vexing all of those raiders. Right. They have obviously, they're causing all sorts of problems. Now add Joel and Ellie into the mix, and those people have some serious problems on their hands now.
Is that your prediction for the next episode?
Yeah. I think they team up, and because these people are not nice. I mean, they attack Joel and Ellie early on for no reason, just because they're raiders, and they're like, we're going to kill you and take your stuff. So, yeah. Totally. What about you?
There's 2 scenes that were in the game, and I hope they bring into the show, which they should, because it's a very good show of the bond between Henry and Sam. So I am very much wanting them to put that in the show, and I'm interested to see that. And I don't know. I just like seeing it translated into shows, pretty much. My favorite scenes, I'm like, I hope they put it in there.
Is there any stuff up until now that you have really wanted to see, but now it's too late for it to happen and you feel like, oh, I wish they had put that in?
I don't think so. I mean, other than just like the minor changes that I've talked about, but
nothing that's really badly missing.
Nothing that's most of the important scenes that I love are later on in the game.
Oh, okay.
So.
For me, my prediction is going to be that Joel ends up protecting these 2. I don't know why, but I feel like these 2 are good at hiding, but maybe not good at fighting, and they can't escape. So maybe he now is going to be escorting the 3 kids. I mean, well, Henry seems to be an adult, but maybe he's going to be the protector of all of them. So,
okay, could be. I'm going to give it an 8. I enjoyed it. So even though I have some complaints from a writing point of view, when I was sitting down and watching it, the time flowed. I enjoyed it. It is, I think it is better than an average for what I normally see show-wise. So yeah, it's a solid 8.
I'm going to give it a 9 because I still love it.
Okay.
And that's it.
I'm giving it an 8 too. I think this is the first time we've matched on ratings.
Yeah, so something's wrong. I mean, I'm kind of worried now. But
I think I would have given it a higher rating if I felt like a little bit more happened. I think,
right.
Yeah.
So, exactly.
Yeah. All right, so I think that's all we've got. Before anything else, we want you to know that Randy and I appeared on a hogCAST on GeekyOlHog's channel. Maybe by the time this video comes up, it'll be up. If so, it will be in a little up there in the corner. You'll see the link. Otherwise, it'll be the link in the description.
And we talk about our favorite science fiction series. So each one of us picked one series that we felt was the best science fiction series made, and then we talked about it. So that was a lot of fun, and it was interesting.
So I hope you'll go and check that out. Other than that, we just hope that you will please subscribe. Subscribing really helps us a lot. We do love that you're watching, and we do love the likes, but subscribes are what we're after right now. So please do that. And we'll catch you next time. Later.